13 proven habits that will rewire your brain for peak intelligence. The hidden code of intelligence, how small shifts unlock genius. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast, mysterious labyrinth, a maze of untapped potential within your mind. Every turn represents a choice, every path a habit. But here's the kicker: most people wander aimlessly, unaware that intelligence isn't some preordained gift, but a system of doors that can be unlocked. And you're about to get the master key. Let's start with a truth most people don't want to hear. Intelligence isn't about how much you know, it's about how well you think. The difference between an average mind and a peak-performing one isn't in the size of their knowledge bank, but in their ability to process, connect, and adapt. And what if I told you that the way you think right now is merely a habit, a set of neural patterns, formed by years of repetition, that determine how you approach problems, make decisions, and interpret reality? But here's the good news: habits can be rewired. Today, we're not just going to explore intelligence, we're going to engineer it. We're going to break the mental chains that keep you trapped in ordinary thinking and install 13 high-performance habits that will transform the way you use your brain forever. But first, a question: what if the way you've been thinking your whole life was never truly yours to begin with? The first shift: training the observer mind. If you want to be intelligent, stop assuming you are. The biggest mistake we make is believing our thoughts are always right. The true mark of intelligence isn't confidence in your beliefs. It's the ability to step back and question them. Start doing this today. Every time you have an opinion, ask yourself, how do I know this is true? Where did this belief come from? Could I be wrong? Most people never challenge their own thoughts. They defend them, protect them, build their identity around them. But the highest minds, they question, dismantle, rebuild. This is how you escape the echo chamber of your own mind. And here's where it gets powerful. The simple habit of self-inquiry rewires your brain. Studies show that when you actively question your beliefs, you activate your brain's prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for critical thinking and problem solving. This isn't philosophy, this is neuroscience. The second shift: mastering dopamine for deep work. Most people think intelligence is about learning more, but the real secret is focus. Your ability to sustain deep, uninterrupted thought is the strongest predictor of high-level intelligence. And yet, in today's world, your focus is being hijacked by social media, notifications, mindless entertainment. Every distraction is an attack on your intelligence. Here's what you need to do: become ruthless with your dopamine. Dopamine is the neurotransmitter responsible for pleasure and motivation. And if you let it be controlled by cheap, artificial rewards, your brain will crave quick hits over deep thinking. The solution: dopamine fasting. Cut out short-term digital stimulation for at least 24 hours. And you'll notice something incredible: your brain starts craving deep, meaningful work again. You become hungry for knowledge. This is what peak intelligence feels like. The third shift: the power of negative visualization. What's the greatest enemy of intelligence? Comfort. When you're comfortable, your brain has no reason to change. That's why the Stoics used a method called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. Instead of fearing the worst, they imagined it in detail, preparing their minds to handle anything. Here's how you apply it. Every morning, ask yourself, what is the worst possible scenario that could happen today? Instead of avoiding discomfort, lean into it. If you have to give a speech, visualize forgetting your words, feeling embarrassed, facing judgment. Your brain, now exposed to the worst, will be calm when the moment actually arrives. And here's why this matters for intelligence. Anxiety lowers your cognitive performance. When you fear failure, your brain shuts down higher-level thinking. But if you train yourself to expect difficulty, your mind remains sharp under pressure. And that's a superpower. The fourth shift: thinking in systems, not facts. Memorizing facts doesn't make you smart. Seeing the connections between them does. The highest performing minds don't just learn information, they see patterns. They recognize that knowledge isn't linear. It's a web. Try this instead of learning isolated facts. Ask yourself, how does this connect to something else I already know? If you read about biology, link it to economics. If you study history, apply it to psychology. Intelligence isn't about storing knowledge. It's about building a network of insights that can be used in any situation. And this is where the brain rewiring happens. When you force yourself to make connections, your neurons build stronger pathways. The more connections you form, the faster and more creatively you think. The fifth shift, the one-page mind expansion technique. Most people consume knowledge passively. They read, listen, watch, but they don't engage. And that's why they forget most of what they learn. But the truly intelligent have a different habit. They condense their knowledge. Here's the technique. Every time you learn something new, summarize it on a single page. Write down the core ideas in your own words. Then, ask yourself, how can I use this in real life? This forces your brain to engage deeply with the material, solidifying it in long-term memory. And here's the most fascinating part. Writing forces your brain to process information differently. When you physically write something down, you engage different neural circuits than when you just read or listen. That's why the one-page technique isn't just about remembering. It's about rewiring your brain to think more effectively. But let's pause for a moment. Everything we've covered so far leads to one critical question. What if the way you've been learning your whole life is actually slowing you down? The mental alchemy blueprint. How to manipulate thought like a master. Imagine a master sculptor staring at an unshaped block of marble. To an ordinary person, it's just a rock. But to the master, it's already a masterpiece, hidden beneath the stone, waiting to be revealed. Your mind is that marble. Intelligence is not about adding more, but about chiseling away what doesn't serve you. But what if I told you that most people are shaping their minds with the wrong tools? What if intelligence isn't about thinking harder, but thinking differently? Today, we continue our journey by rewiring the way you construct thoughts. The next 5 habits will turn your mind into a cognitive supercomputer, one that doesn't just store information, but transforms it into something powerful. But first, a challenge. If every thought you've ever had was programmed into you, how many of them are truly your own? The sixth shift, the anti-fragile mindset. Most people see intelligence as a fragile thing, something that needs to be protected from failure, mistakes, and discomfort. But the truth? Your mind grows strongest under pressure, just like a muscle. The problem is, society has conditioned you to avoid struggle, to seek comfort, to fear being wrong. And this is where your intelligence gets stuck. The solution: train yourself to become anti-fragile, a term coined by Nassim Taleb, meaning something that gets stronger from stress. Instead of avoiding difficulty, seek it out. If you want to get smarter, don't just read what aligns with your beliefs, read what challenges them. If you want to improve your thinking, don't just reinforce your ideas, destroy them, then rebuild. Every time you willingly expose yourself to cognitive discomfort, your brain grows sharper. Here's the habit: once a week, deliberately put yourself in an intellectual position where you might be wrong. Engage in debates. Write down a strong opinion you hold, then argue against it. This trains your brain to be dynamic, adaptive, and, most importantly, resilient to mental stagnation. The seventh shift, thinking backwards. Most people solve problems forward. They start from what they know and move toward a solution. But the most intelligent minds think in reverse. This is called inversion thinking, and it's the secret behind some of the greatest problem solvers in history, including physicist Richard Feynman and billionaire investor Charlie Munger. Here's how you do it. Instead of asking, "How do I succeed?" ask, "How do I fail?" Instead of wondering, "How do I get rich?" ask, "How do I go broke?" By identifying what not to do, you eliminate the noise and create a direct path to intelligent decision-making. And here's why this works. Your brain naturally fixates on goals. but by reversing the equation and seeing failure points first. You train your mind to predict obstacles before they happen. This is mental alchemy, turning setbacks into stepping stones. The 8th shift, the 10-year perspective hack. Think about the last time you were overwhelmed. Could have been a tough decision, an argument, a failure. In that moment, your mind was flooded with emotion. But what if I told you that time travel, yes, in a mental sense, could instantly make you more intelligent? Here's the hack. Anytime you face a problem, ask yourself, will this matter in 10 days, 10 months, 10 years? Most problems shrink the moment you extend your perspective. Your brain operates in a narrow time window, overvaluing immediate struggles. But intelligence is the ability to zoom out, to see life from a broader scale. Now imagine applying this daily. If something won't matter in 10 months, why waste 10 minutes being stressed about it? The highest minds don't just think about today, they think in decades. This is how you develop foresight, wisdom, and a level of intelligence that few people ever reach. The 9th shift, reframing reality. Your brain doesn't see reality. It sees your interpretation of reality. Two people can experience the same event, yet come away with completely different conclusions. Why? Because intelligence isn't about what happens, it's about how you frame what happens. Reframing is the ability to change the meaning of any event. Lost a job? Instead of seeing it as a failure, frame it as an opportunity to pursue something better. Got rejected? Instead of internalizing it as a personal flaw, frame it as redirection towards something greater. And here's why this is crucial. Your thoughts shape your brain's wiring. The more you reinforce negative frames, the more your brain solidifies them. But if you train yourself to reframe everything as a lesson, a challenge, or an opportunity, you rewire your brain for resilience and creativity. Here's the habit. Every time something bad happens, immediately ask yourself, what's the hidden advantage here? Even if it seems small. Finding an empowering frame strengthens your cognitive flexibility, the ultimate mark of high intelligence. The 10th shift, the chessboard mindset. The world is full of pawns, people who react, who move only when pushed. Then there are the strategists, the ones who don't just play the game, but see the entire board. If you want peak intelligence, you must develop what I call the chessboard mindset. Here's what this means. Instead of thinking one move ahead, train yourself to see 5 moves ahead. Before you make a decision, ask, what happens next? And then what? This forces your brain to analyze cause and effect on a deeper level. And here's a game-changing habit. Every time you make a choice, write down 2 possible consequences that could result from it. Then, for each of those consequences, write 2 more. This habit forces your brain to simulate future possibilities, training it to anticipate outcomes instead of just reacting to them. This is why the highest level thinkers don't just succeed, they predict success. They're playing a game others don't even realize exists. Now, think about everything we've covered so far. Intelligence isn't just about absorbing information. It's about sculpting your mind into a tool of precision, clarity, and power. But now, a final question. If intelligence can be trained like a muscle, what would happen if you dedicated yourself fully to mastering your own mind? The ultimate intelligence upgrade: how to engineer genius-level thinking. Imagine for a moment that intelligence isn't just something you have, it's something you construct. Like an architect designing a skyscraper. Every thought you think, every habit you build, every choice you make is another brick in the foundation of your mind. Now, most people leave their intelligence to chance. They consume random information, think in scattered patterns, and hope that somehow they'll become smarter. But true intelligence, peak intelligence, isn't accidental. It's engineered. In this final chapter, we'll unlock the last 3 habits that will transform your thinking into something few people ever achieve. These are the habits that separate the intellectually good from the cognitively unstoppable. But first, a question. What if the smartest version of yourself already exists, waiting for you to activate it? The 11th shift, Embracing the beginner's mind. Here's a paradox. The smarter you think you are, the less intelligent you become. Why? Because certainty kills learning. There's a concept in Zen Buddhism called Shoshin, the beginner's mind. It means approaching everything as if you know nothing. This is the habit that made people like Leonardo da Vinci, Einstein, and Steve Jobs legendary thinkers. They never assumed they had all the answers. They stayed curious, open, always searching. Here's how you install this into your life. Every time you learn something, ask yourself, what am I still missing? Seek out people who disagree with you, and instead of arguing, ask, what can I learn from their perspective? Remind yourself that no matter how much you know, it's a fraction of what there is to learn. The moment you believe you have nothing left to learn is the moment your intelligence stops growing. But if you can stay in a state of curiosity forever, you'll keep upgrading your mind at an exponential rate. The 12th shift, the 80-20 intelligence principle. There's a reason why some people learn at lightning speed while others struggle for years. It's not because of raw brain power, it's because they know what not to waste time on. The Pareto principle, also known as the 80-20 rule, states that 80% of results come from 20% of efforts. This applies to intelligence too. Most people spend time learning everything, but the smartest minds focus only on the most valuable information. Here's how to apply this. Filter what you learn. Instead of consuming random information, ask yourself, what's the 20% of knowledge that will give me 80% of the results? Prioritize deep learning over shallow knowledge. Eliminate low-value thinking. If a topic, habit, or idea doesn't move you toward growth, cut it out. Be ruthless with your mental energy. Apply knowledge. Don't just collect it. The smartest people don't just read, they use what they learn. Every time you learn something, immediately ask, how can I apply this in real life? The result? Instead of filling your mind with noise, you'll train it to extract only the insights that create real change. The 13th shift, building a thought palace. Now, we come to the final habit. This is the one that will solidify everything, turning your intelligence from something abstract into something unbreakable. Throughout history, some of the greatest minds, from Roman senators to world-class memory champions, have used a technique called the mind palace or the method of loci. The idea? Your brain remembers stories and locations better than facts. Here's how to build your own mind palace. Create a mental space. Imagine a house, temple, a library somewhere vast and detailed. Assign knowledge to locations. If you're learning about philosophy, store it in the study. If you're absorbing new financial insights, put them in the vault. Walk through your palace. When you need to recall information, mentally visit the rooms where you stored it. Why does this work? Because your brain evolved to remember places more than abstract information. By attaching knowledge to mental landscapes, you create an intelligence system far beyond traditional memory. And here's the deeper layer. Your mind palace isn't just about remembering facts. It's about organizing your thoughts, giving structure to your intelligence, so that every idea, every insight, is always within reach. Final thought, the architect of your own mind. We began this journey with a simple idea. Intelligence isn't something you're born with, it's something you build. And now, you have the blueprint. You've learned how to observe your own mind, rewire focus, master deep work, dismantle fear, and think in ways most people never even consider. You've installed cognitive habits that separate the ordinary from the extraordinary. But the real question is, what will you do with this knowledge? Because intelligence is not just about thinking, it's about applying. And now, the choice is yours. You can let these ideas fade into the background, or you can become them, the sculptor of your own mind, the architect of your own intelligence, the master of your own thoughts. So tell me, are you ready to think like never before?